Well, hello and good afternoon, Alliance Nation. This is Gina Hawks, Product Specialist with the Alliance, and I am actually coming to you live from the Alliance Jacksonville office. We are down here doing some training for the ACT participants, and so fired up to be with you on the call today. And what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to go through a demonstration of how to use the National Life Group Illustration Software to run the IUL illustrations. And we're going to do a couple different ways that you can, the most common ways that we set up these policies and kind of how to do that through the illustration system. And so hopefully you're on the webinar. If you're calling in, definitely go back, and we are recording this, so it will be available if you happen to be driving and you're just listening and not able to see the screens. We are recording it, so you will be able to go back later and watch the recording. But thanks everybody for tuning in today, and I'm very excited that we have Lindsay Morway on the line with us from National Life Group. She is one of our representatives there, and I know many of you have met Lindsay at some of the different conferences, and hopefully you'll get to meet her at Family Reunion coming up here in just about a month. But I want to not take any more of her time, but I want to go ahead and kind of turn it over to Lindsay, and she's going to go through the software kind of step by step for you guys so you can see exactly how to run these illustrations. And one other reminder, not only is this webinar being recorded, but we also have a video on Alliance University. So if you go to the National Life Group, it's the Flex Life 2 IUL product. If you go to the product video, it's course number 299. There is a video within that, not only on how the product works, but how step-by-step to run illustrations. So we've got several different tools that you can go back and reference to be able to help you in running illustrations with your clients. But Lindsay, I want to thank you. I know you've got a crazy busy schedule, and I want to thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to join us and help us out with these illustrations. And with no further ado, I am going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gina. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to work with you, and we appreciate that you allow us to have the time to talk with all of the agents for the Alliance, and super happy to have you all here. Great participation so far. Looks like we've got 71 people. That's awesome. I'm sure more people will be joining in. My name again is Lindsay Morway, and I'm one of the key accounts that works at National Life Group and is lucky to be able to be partnered with the Alliance Group and helping you guys to grow your business with National Life. So really excited to be talking to you today about our illustration software. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so that we can get into the software. I'm sure most of you know how to at least log into your agent portal. What you see here is just essentially, it looks very similar to yours. There's just a couple differences because it is a home office view. So you'll notice that I won't have the integration button to go into the e-app, that green button that you can use, but certainly want to mention it, and I'll talk a little bit further about that as we continue to go on. So yet again, really excited that everyone is on the call. Hopefully you can see my screen here. Feel free to type in the chat box if for some reason you can't. And certainly put any questions in the chat box, and we will save time for at the end to look at those and look at any scenarios that you want to see again, or just anything that you have questions on. So really excited to be here with you guys. This is what you're going to see when you first log into the National Life Group illustration software. What I want to point out to you is over on the right here, we have a section that's called In the Spotlight. And what we focus on there is really just to put any important announcements about the illustration software so that, you know, it can potentially help you from having to call in. If it's something simple, to just say, oh, that's why I'm getting that, and you can know kind of what's going on. And we post different announcements there just so that you have it all in one place. We have our sales desk 1-800 number here, so feel free to always call the sales desk if you need help on case design, any pre-sales questions, try to figure out the best product for your client, certainly call that 1-800 number. Now, over on the left here, you can see that it has home listed. And what essentially the illustration software is pretty straightforward. You pretty much work your way from top to bottom on this. The first thing that you're going to click is New Illustration. And we will just go ahead and we'll just pick North Carolina Index Universal Life product. And you just do that under the product type. And you just want to leave sales concept as basic illustration. And we will go ahead and we will select our Flex Life 2 product. You always want to make sure that unless you are in New York, you're utilizing the Flex Life 2, that is our LSW Flex Life 2. And let me explain that real quick, what I mean by that. National Life Group is essentially the umbrella company that owns the issuing companies within National Life Group. LSW, Life of the Southwest, is one of those issuing companies, and we can write that in all states except for we cannot do that in New York. So in New York, you have to write our National Life issued paper, and that is when you would have selected NL Flex Life. So just want to mention that real quick. It's very important to know National Life paper is on regulations with New York, so commission structure is very different, much less. So it's important to know that so you don't have to essentially get redated paperwork or do anything like that. So just wanted to mention that real quick. Again, always look at LSW Flex Life 2 unless you are in New York. So on the insured information, you can go ahead and put the client's name if you wish, or you can certainly just put valued client. All depends on what your preference is there. We are just going to keep it male, and we'll go ahead and just do a 37-year-old male. If you do have the birth date, it's certainly best to have that in there just because it is an age-DRS product. So it helps to have the birth date so that it's giving you the accurate age. The next thing I want to mention is the risk information section. So we always recommend that agents run these at verified standard non-tobacco. And the reason that we suggest doing that is because we at National Life Group are always underwriting for the best rate class possible. So don't feel like if you quote standard for your client, if they are in great shape and they're in, they're extremely healthy, we will give them the best rate class. So you can always go back and be essentially, that hero to deliver that, great news that they're, healthier than we expected. And that's awesome. You can get more insurance for less. And just highly recommend that just so you don't have to go to, if you run preferred, you don't have to go back to your client and say, actually, we're going to need a little bit more premium to get that face amount that we derived in the beginning. I just want to mention that because that's very important. The next thing on this section that I want to highlight is we do have an underwriting guidelines built into our illustration software. So it certainly helps out with if you are in a situation where you just want a quick, you want to look at the height and weight chart, or you want to look at, what are the automatic declines, and kind of get a feel for how you would feel to underwrite someone. You can just go ahead and click this link, and it's going to bring this 51-page underwriting guide up. And I know that can seem a little daunting, and it can seem like that's fairly long to read through all that, but it's pretty straightforward. We have a table of contents so you can kind of see what you're looking for, find that page. Like I said, we have lots of great information in here, and it honestly will help you from even having to call in, because a lot of it is just right at your fingertips. Information on financial underwriting, so it will show you the multipliers that we would look at for the income that the client is making. It's going to show you any of the underwriting requirements on a case. So certainly take advantage of that and utilize that underwriting guide. In addition to the underwriting guide, one of the most beneficial aspects that, beneficial resources that you guys have is the ability to email into our underwriting quotes at nationallife.com email. And I'll say that again, underwriting quotes at nationallife.com. And you can essentially send in a potential risk situation that you want the underwriters to look at and just say, hey, I have a 46-year-old male. This is the health condition that I'm concerned with. How would you potentially rate that? And they will actually give you, a tentative, what we would potentially look at for that client. And you can include that when you submit the case so that our underwriting team knows that that's the tentative offer that we were able to give you based on the information you provided. So it's certainly a great resource to you. Our Flex Life 2 product follows our easy underwriting guidelines. So just to highlight those really quickly for you so that you're aware, we have easy underwriting that is up to $1 million up to age 60 for your clients. One important thing to mention is this is fully underwritten. It's not a simplified underwriting. I know you guys work with some companies where they do final expense, guaranteed issue type underwriting, and this is very different from that. But what it is an ability for your client to go through with no medicals, no exams, less invasive ways to get underwriting done and come out with potentially the best rate possible. So it's a great way to have an abbreviated underwriting process. And if your client has a risk classifier score that doesn't require us to go out and get additional medical records, then we can go through with no exams, no labs, any of that. I won't go into too much of what the risk classifier is because I know Gina has lots of great information on it, and I'm sure you guys have lots of information on your web about it and how we look at that. But I just wanted to mention that up to age 60, up to $1 million possibility to go through with no fluids or exams, and up to age 65, up to an amount of $250,000 coverage. Now, right here is if let's say the underwriter comes back and says your client has been rated 150%, you would go ahead and put that table rating in there. And as you can see, the software is great because it's gonna tell you if you're doing something that you're not allowed to. So as you can see, it's telling us that we would need a higher face amount for this. So you can go ahead and click Express Standard Non-Tobacco, which is essentially a table shaving. So if you click on rate class, it will have that information and it will kind of show you where to go in the product guide to get more information. But essentially that Express Standard rate class is going to cover up to 200% of a table rating. So that is where you would go if you needed to make changes to that. You can always call into our sales desk and say, hey, I ran it this way, but the underwriter actually came back with a modified approved risk class. What's the best way to run this in the software? And they can certainly help you with that as well. You also may have a situation where someone is assigned a flat extra on a policy where we are essentially going to charge per $1,000 an extra amount of what that is. So you could put that in there and then you would put the duration that the underwriting team is saying that it's going to be on for. So sometimes it'll be 4 years, sometimes it's more or less. It all depends on what the flat extra is given for. Sometimes it's given for, if they are involved in hazardous activities that would require us to have to essentially charge more for that insurance for a period of time. All right, so that is all that you need to do on that screen. It seemed like a lot, but it's just more informational for you guys just to know some additional pieces with the Flex Life 2, but pretty straightforward. You just put your insured's information, you put the gender, the birth date, and what rate class, and again, highly recommend you do standard non-tobacco there. If for some reason your client is, minor or whatnot, you can always do a different owner information, or if for some reason someone different than the insured is owning the policy, this is where you would do that. If there was a trust owning it, you would select trust and put that information in there. So we're just going to leave it a male, 37, verified standard, non-tobacco. And I'm just going to show you the most used case design that we see on the IUL. Up the top here, I just want to quickly mention the guideline premium test. Just leave all of these defaults as they are. A lot of the software has built in that things that, really for the majority of case designs are a certain way. They default that way to make it easier for you. And just want to take a quick minute to say we are up to 140 participants, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. Love to see the energy and enthusiasm getting on these webinars. So yeah, like I said, we have an insurance test right here, guideline premium test. That is what you're going to use majority of all the time. So just leave that alone, leave mech avoidance none as it is. So the first thing that you really need to touch in the software when you're designing this case design is going to be minimum death benefit max cash. As you can see, you're going to get a little red X. The only reason for that being is because down here, we are trying to solve for premium as well. And we can't solve for both. Unfortunately, the software is not that smart. We have to give it one or the other variable. So the great thing is that in our software, we have two ways that you can essentially build this case design. You can either have a death benefit in mind. So if the client has a death benefit that they're trying to achieve, you can certainly hit none here and specify whatever that face amount is. Or if, let's say, your client, and most scenarios are going to be this way. If your client says, I can afford, $300 a month, then they can essentially, we'll leave it minimum death benefit max cash, and go down here to the premium section. And we are going to go ahead and change the premium mode to monthly. And we're going to leave premium solve type none. And we're going to specify the premium amount. And let's just say that they want to do $350 a month. Now over in our from through here, and you can see that we got rid of the red X just from putting in a premium, and now we're solving, we're telling the software to tell us what is the minimum death benefit for that premium amount to maximize cash value. So in IULs, obviously trying to maximize that cash value in the policy for supplemental retirement down the road. So we're telling the software, tell us what the lowest death benefit is to maximize cash based on the $350, which is us max funding this policy. Now, the from through section tells the software, how long do you want to pay those premiums? So let's say that we want to do 1-A65, and A stands for age. In the from through sections, you can either do, policy years, or you can do A in front of it, and that represents the age. I personally find it easier to just do it off of the age versus trying to count, how many policy years down based on the age of the client. So we can do 1-A65 here. And then down here, I'll just show you quickly, if you did want to do a 1035 exchange where you have money coming from, let's say the client has another life insurance policy at another company, or, with us, and you are exchanging that cash value into this new policy, this is where you would go ahead and put that. It's either external or internal. External being, another carrier, internal meaning us, National Life. So we would go ahead and just hit external here. And on the 1035 exchange amount, you can certainly just press, that's going to be whatever the cash value is that the client is able to essentially roll over into this new product that they have. So you would just put that amount there. And it's going to ask you a couple additional questions if you wish to, for instance, deduct the first modal premium from that 1035 exchange amount. You can do that. I'm just going to move that back to none for now. And again, I'll scroll up just so you can see we have minimum death benefit, max cash. Option A, level death benefit. We're doing $350 a month, 1 through age 65. And then we get to our distribution information section. So this is where you're going to be able to show loans coming out of the policy. There's many different ways that we can take loans out of the Index Universal Life policy. And you can see that if you drop this type down, you can either specify the amount that you're wanting to take out. So if you were structuring something for, college funding, or you wanted to show a loan coming out in a child's lifetime, when they wanted to put a down payment on a house, you could specify the amount that you're looking to get out of the plan if you wished. We can also solve for the income. So that's telling the software what is the max income that you can give me at that point in time based on current assumptions, how the illustration is performing. We also have our lifetime income benefit rider, which is awesome. It gives your client the ability to have a guaranteed income stream for life. So in today's world, oftentimes, people are worried about outliving their money. We're living much longer today than we were in the past. And it's a great resource for your client to be able to have this rider on their policy at no cost to them. It's just on the policy that we offer. And they are only going to have a small charge if they choose down the road to activate this rider. It's a 65 basis point charge on the lifetime income benefit rider, very small. And like I said, they're only going to have that if they actually activate it and use it. So what we look for with the lifetime income benefit rider is the policy has to be in force for 10 years, and the client has to be at least the age of 60 to activate that rider. And it's a great thing to show your clients. I know Gina loves to show the lifetime income benefit rider, and it's a great way to show your client that, hey, we have many, many different ways that you could take, loans out of your policy, but just know that you also have this rider on the Flex Life 2 product that offers your client, a lifetime guarantee of money coming to them when they activate it. And it's never, never going to run out. So the benefit of that is your client, when they activate it, they're going to know what that income is. And every 5 years, we're actually going to look at it. And if we are able to increase that payment to your client based on how their policy is performing, we will. And we will actually increase it. So it's never going to go down. It's always going to stay that same, or it's going to get ratcheted up and be increased. So we'll just go ahead and solve for income in age 66. And the M stands for maturity, so all the way out through 120. So you can actually change this and say, I only, want to see income coming out from age 66 through age, let's just say 90. So you can go ahead and change that there. And here is going to show you the different loan types. So we also have a participating fixed loan that you can offer your client that is going to be set at that. Right now it's currently 5%, and your client's locking that interest rate in at the time that they get their policy issue. So let's just keep it on participating fixed loans. I'll run it at that, but I'll also just quickly show you can also do participating variable loans. And right now our variable loan rate is at 4.2%. But we also have this variable loan. And the reason that this is showing a 5.38%, even though our loan rate is less currently right now, the variable loan rate, is because we cannot, NAIC guidelines restrict us to only show a 1% spread on the arbitrage of the money in the policy. And I know that that sounds kind of complicated, but really what it's just saying is currently our interest rate is 6.38% for our point-to-point cap focus. So we cannot show a variable loan rate at any less than the 5.38% because that's a 1% difference. So we're going to go ahead and I will change it back to participating fixed loans. All right, so we, again, starting from the top, minimum death benefit, max cash value. We are doing a monthly payment of $350 for the first 65 years of the client's life. And then we're telling the software that we want to solve for income for the ages of 66 through age 90. And we leave the rest alone. Don't do anything else. We're going to go to our riders tab. And I'm going to just show you that, as you can see, all of the riders that are essentially free riders are automatically going to be checked off yes. So you'll see that. There's additional riders that you can add if you wish. The great thing about this software, again, all of these links are built within the software so that if you have a question on, hey, what is the guaranteed insurability rider? What does that offer my client? You can actually go and click that button and see what the rider specifications are and see what that rider is going to do for your client. So it's great to have because it is challenging to remember all the different riders, how each of them work, what are the nuances. So certainly take advantage of that information. The other thing that you can do is you can actually change the summary ages of the accelerated benefits protected summaries. So if for some reason you wanted to have them, shown at 50, you certainly could do that as well. It's really whatever you wish to do. All right, so I'm going to go back to the interest rates tab. And just show you real quick, strategy 1 is what it's going to default to at 100%. And most agents, leave it in that strategy. It's really up to you and your client, what your client would like to do. But this is our cap focus strategy, so the highest cap option, and it's currently illustrated at 6.38%. So once you've done all of that and you've completed your illustration, you would go over to your quick view. And this is where it's going to show you what is your initial face amount. And then it's also going to show you what premium are you paying. It's going to give you a nice summary of what the illustration is potentially going to look at. And then obviously you can run the full illustration to see that as well. So we're showing that $23,000 is coming out in year 66 through age 90, just as we told the software to solve for that income. And you can see that we're putting $350 in, and we are getting an initial face amount of $324,000. And if you're wondering, if we go back to, so I think what happened with these, I think they came off because we had put a rating on this. I was just trying to figure out why they were switched to no. So because in the beginning we were playing around with the table ratings and the flat extra, it actually told the software to remove these accelerated benefit riders, the terminal, chronic, critical. As you could see, some of them fell off, and they defaulted to no, and that was why. So if you're adding a table rating, it's going to respectfully change the accelerated benefit riders if they're not eligible for that. Otherwise, when you come in here, all of this will be yes. You'll have yes to all of these, and those are no cost riders that we offer. So back to the quick view. You can see this is a great spot. You can see your net death benefit over on the right. You can see what the surrender value is each year. And as you can see in the earlier years, it's much less because you have a lot of charges up front. It's a front-loaded policy where most of the expenses are in the first 10 years of the policy. And that's when the surrender charges are applicable. So as you can see, once you get into the 11th year here, your cash value is equaling your cash surrender value. So they equal each other out. Whereas prior to that, the surrender value is less because we have surrender charges in that first 10-year time frame. So again, this is really going to be the illustration that you'll probably run most frequently if your client has a certain premium in mind and they want to show income down the road. This is certainly your basic illustration. You can also show this with no income coming out if you want. It's totally up to what your client wants to see. You could also, just so you're aware, you could also specify if there is a death benefit need that they have. So let's say they tell you, I really want $300,000 in coverage for my death benefit. I want to cover my mortgage. That's the amount that I really need, and that's the amount I want. You can back into figuring out a max funded policy. And the way that you're able to do that is you specify that face amount of $300,000. So instead of solving for it, we're actually going to specify it and put $300,000 in for our face amount. And we're going to go down to the premium section. And we are actually going to solve for our premium. And we're going to select guideline annual premium. And that is the guideline limits are essentially max funding in IUL. And even though it says guideline annual, because we told the software we wanted to pay monthly, it will take the guideline annual and calculate what the monthly premiums would be. So we're going to pay that through age 65. And it's going to give us the premium of $324.42. So that's just a reverse way to do what we just did before, just a little differently. All right, so now I just want to cover quickly with you guys option A and option B. First, I just want to say that there's certainly not a right or wrong one. It really depends on the client, how you're structuring the policy. There's many different things to look at, but I do want to be clear that both option A and option B include the cash value. So oftentimes when we think about option A and option B, sometimes people get confused and think, well, does that mean option A does not include my cash value? And cash value is always included in the net death benefit. So when we think about option A and option B, the difference really is how much insurance you're paying for inside of the policy. So let's take an example of $100,000 and you're doing an option B increasing. The net death benefit is going to be that $100,000, that face amount is going to be $100,000 plus whatever the cash value is going to be the net death benefit. So the client is always paying for that $100,000 of face amount with the option B. Whereas option A, client starts out with, let's say, $100,000 of face amount, and over time, the cash value that builds up in the policy is actually replacing some of the insurance that the client is on the hook for. And that's because the net amount at risk is being decreased by that. So it's shrinking that net amount at risk that the client's on the hook for. So that's the difference, but really in both of them, it's never a situation where the cash value is not included in the net death benefit. I just want to be clear on that. Option B, typically for your older clients, is not going to work well because, like I said, you're always on the hook for that original face amount that you're getting. So as the clients get older, cost of insurance goes up. So if you're choosing option B and you're keeping that face amount that you're on the hook for, you're paying for that cost of insurance, it's going to be more, it's going to cost a lot more for your client. So typically, we don't see option B used in older clients. It really would be for, younger clients if you're trying to, start the death benefit out lower and grow over time. But there's just many different ways. But I'm just going to show you a couple things today with this in mind. And know that there's definitely not one size that fits all. There's different ways that you can do this. But I know that you guys have heard a lot about building in increases in policies. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do minimum death benefit, max cash. We'll change this to option B. And we're going to go down to our premium section. And we're going to keep it on monthly. We're going to specify an amount of $500 a month. And we're going to pay that through 1-3, so for the first 3 years, I'm sorry. And then the next year, we're going to, oh, sorry, I did that pretty quickly. But down here at the bottom, you just go ahead and hit add row. And then you're going to go ahead and hit specify amount again. And let's say the client thinks they're going to be able to do $700 a month for years 4 through 7. We're going to go ahead and add one more row here. Sorry, sometimes when you try to hit too quickly, it doesn't keep up. So specify amount, and we're going to change that to 1,000. And let's just say that we want to do that in the 8th year through age 65. So we have told the software we're building in those step-ups in the policy and essentially building the policy so that it could accept those with the face amount. And let me scroll down here. I'm trying to get so you can see the bottom of my screen on the summary of values pane. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay. So as you can see on the screen here, your net death benefit is showing $345,964. And if we take a row out, let's just delete that one row, you see the net death benefit decreases. So each time that you're building in these step-ups, it's ramping up that death benefit. So it's because you're wanting to account for that down the road, you're going to need to have the ability to have a higher death benefit to start. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those back in here just so you can see. Okay, so we are telling the software we want an option B, increasing death benefit, minimum death benefit, max cash, and we are building in those step-ups. And let's go ahead and solve for income. Okay. So we can see we have a $345,000 death benefit here. And we'll go ahead and hit our quick view. And as you can see, it built in those step-ups that we were planning for each year. And it's going to show our income coming out for the time frame that we, oh, I forgot to, in the income section, let me go back and change that. I had it going all the way out through. So we'll go ahead and change that to just coming out for until age 90. So as you can see, about 49,000 coming out in income. Your target premium on this is 3,861. Target premium is just an arbitrary number. It's essentially what you are, what your commissions are based off of. So it doesn't have a lot to do with how to structure it. But I do want to point out that number of 3,861 so that when I show you this next thing, you can compare the two numbers. So this is certainly a way that you can build in steps to increasing premium over the years if you think your client's going to want to be able to do that. And, they say, in 3 years, I hope to, be continuing to, do better in my job, and I want to be making more money, and I think I'm going to be able to, put in more. This is just building that in. The thing to keep in mind, though, is if your client is not going to be able to make those additional increases, let's say situations change, as we all know they do, your client, you're structuring that policy with this in mind, and you have to remember that your client is going to have to call in and make these changes. So an illustration is totally just showing you based on what we're illustrating, what you expect to potentially do with your policy. It doesn't mean that anything you do in the illustration is actually going to happen automatically. So it's definitely a lot of maintenance to be remembering that, hey, in 3 years, this valued client needs to go and increase their premium to $700 in the next, in years 4 to 7, and then to $1,000 in years 8 in order for it to perform the way that we talked about when I sold her this case, or him this case. So just keep that in mind. It's certainly a way that you can structure it. It's totally dependent on what you feel comfortable with and what your client would like to do. But I'm going to just show you another way that you could go about it if you wanted to with option A. So let's just say that we wanted to switch this to option A. And we are going to get rid of these rows. We're going to just hit delete. And we're going to do $500 1-A65. And as you can see down here on the left, our net death benefit is $465,000. So it jumps up pretty significantly just starting out with option A. So your client is getting more coverage. We'll just leave the standard illustration like this. I'll show you the quick view real quick. Now, as you can see, they're just keeping that straight $500 a month all the way out through 66. Yes, the income is showing lower here by about $15,000, but you have to remember that we built in all of that extra premium in the other options. So keep that in mind. Plus, they're starting out with a higher face amount here. So that's if, for some reason they're unable to increase and all they can do is those $500 a month. But what if they were able to start increasing those contributions and make more? So we would go up here, and because we figured out what the net death benefit would need to be, we can now hit none here, and it's going to keep that $465 for us, which is really convenient. Just leave it alone. And then we're going to add a row here, and we're going to tell the software that we want you to solve for the guideline annual premium. We're going to switch the $500 a month for the first 5 years. So let's just say that for the first 5 years, that's what they're able to pay. And then let's say in the sixth policy year through age 65, they want to max fund it at the guideline limits. And they all of a sudden, in year 6, you're doing your annual review, you're talking with your client, and they're, hey, they're able to put more money in. Well, that's great. We can easily just do a change year and switch it from option A to option B at that time when your client is able to put more money in. So as I showed you the illustration previous to this one, if they just could only contribute the $500 and they never can in the 6th year increase it, that's fine too. You have a great policy that's going to go all the way through and it's going to look nice. But if they're able to increase it, great. You can do a death benefit option change in the policy and change it from level to increasing, and they don't have to go through additional underwriting because it's not a material change of the policy. So we told the software that, hey, we're going to pay that $500 a month in the first 5 years, and then in year 6 through the age of 65, I want to pay the guideline limits, and then I want to take income 66 to 90. Go ahead and hit the quick view, and as you can see how much this jumps the premium up very significantly. So it gives your client the ability to fund it at higher limits if they want to, if they do that change to option B down the road, if they are able to contribute more. And if not, that's fine too. And as you can see, much higher income here, $60,000. And that's on a participating fixed loan. The other thing I want to mention is look at the target premium. So the other example that we showed, the target premium was about $3,861. As you can see, your target premium here is showing $5,264. So not only is the client getting a higher death benefit to start out with in the beginning, but there's a higher target premium, higher commissions, and in addition to that, if your client is unable to increase their premium payments, you have a policy that is structured based on max funding it at the time that you are getting that coverage. So I know that was a lot, but that is just kind of the different ways that you can structure increasing premiums in a policy. It certainly can get a little complicated, so if you need help on those, feel free to, like I said, give our sales desk a call. They'll walk you through what the different options could be and try to figure out for your client which one would be best for your client to offer. So one other thing I just want to mention real quick is oftentimes we will get the question of, hey, my client has a huge lump sum that they want to put into the policy. How can I illustrate that in the software and how does that make the IUL look? And I just want to say that lump sums in an IUL really don't work well because they really work best when you can fund it at a consistent rate for a period of time. When you're putting a large amount in right up front, it essentially requires the death benefit be so high in the beginning that it can't sustain itself because it's trying to avoid that MEC, a modified endowment contract, where it can have taxable income, taxable complications down the road if you do create a MEC. So it's best to essentially fund it at consistent rates. And if you do have a lump sum of money or your client does, certainly give us a call because we do have solutions that can fit that, where we take a lump sum of the money and we put it in a premium deposit account. Your client earns a little bit of interest, and we essentially, that premium deposit account will fund the IUL for a period of years at the time that you set that. So we do have options for that to build into the IUL, but it certainly it doesn't work well if you go ahead and just put a lump sum in the policy. And I will just go ahead and just show you what it would look like if you were to do that. So we'll just say that they're not going to fund it at all. Just going to check the chat box real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So we're going to specify $0 of premium, $100,000 lump sum going in the first year. We're leaving all the other information the same. We hit our quick view here. As you can see, this policy is going to lapse in the 17th policy year based on current assumptions because it's requiring a death benefit of $2.8 million in order to take that $100,000 in. So that's why a lump sum directly into the IUL does not always look the prettiest, and it's definitely not the best way to structure that. I want to show one more quick thing before we open up to any questions in the chat box. I'm just going to do a female. We'll switch this here. Let's do $31, and we'll leave it at standard non-tobacco. So what if I could show you guys a way to increase your client's death benefit along with the target premium on a case by more than 20%? Would you be interested? I hope that I have a lot of you saying yes and raising your hands. I wish that I could see you, but I can't. So anyway, that's what I'm going to show you here is how you would do that. So we are going to do minimum death benefit, max cash. And what this has to do with is banding. That's what we call it, is banding. And think of it like buying in bulk and buying at places like Costco or BJ's, wherever you're near. I know that you guys are all over the country, so whatever you have near you, think of it buying in bulk. So we're going to go ahead. We'll get rid of that lump sum. We're going to change the premium mode to monthly, and we are going to specify $150 a month. 1 through age 65. And we'll just go ahead and solve for income. Okay. So as you can see, our target premium here is showing $1,461. Write that number down. And we're paying $150 a month, 1 through age 65, telling the software we want minimum death benefit, max cash. As you can see, the net death benefit that's showing here is $201,814. We'll go ahead and hit our quick view and just see what it looks like. Showing about $14,000 of income coming out. But if you simply take that illustration and you go back and you hit none under the face amount, and you change this to $250,000 and $1, just $1 over that $250,000 band mark, you can see that the target premium just jumped from $1,461 to $1,810, and your client's net death benefit is $250,001, which is essentially close to $50,000 more. And we're leaving the premium exactly the same. So no additional money from your client in order to get that additional coverage. And we'll just scroll down. And as you can see, the income is right about exactly the same. So it's a way for your client to get more coverage because once they're in a different band, they're getting essentially more for less money. And like I said, the target premium is jumping up as well. So it's a win-win for everyone. I just like to mention that because it does certainly, it's a good thing to look at. There's different banding options in the Flex Life for different thresholds. So certainly reference the Flex Life 2 product guide for information on that. I know we covered a lot today, so hopefully you guys got some great information from what I have shared with you. One other quick thing I want to mention to you all is the importance of the client app. It's really awesome. I know that everyone at NAA strongly recommends, get a policy on yourself. Certainly get a policy with us. Download the client app so that when you are out making sales, you can actually show your clients what your own policy looks like. what better way to build credibility than to be able to just pull up that client app and show them, that you have actually gotten one from yourself. So we have the client app that gives you lots of different features that you can offer your client to do on their own, and it will save you from having to do administrative tasks, call into the contact center, any of those different functions, because a lot of the information is right at the client's fingertips. So just want to point that out. And also we do have an agent mobile app. So something for you to be able to monitor your business. We know that you're out on the road a lot, going from appointment to appointment. And usually the last thing that you're able to get a chance to do is log on to your desktop. So we created an agent mobile app so that you can essentially monitor your business right on your phone and have that convenience. So certainly just want to mention that. We have about 5 minutes left. So if there's anything that I talked about today that you want to discuss further, or you want to see redone as far as how to run the illustration, certainly put that in the chat box. We do have one question in there, it looks like, in regards to if a client can get an IUL if they have a stent. I'm not an underwriter, so I'm not familiar with all the things that we'll offer or not. But as I mentioned, the underwriting guide is the best place to just check that automatic, what are the automatic things that we would decline for? And if you can't get your answer there, certainly reach out to the underwriting quotes box. Okay, so someone asked if we could do the one with the female over again. Okay. Let me go ahead and do that. One of the other questions that just was asked, can a grandparent own a policy for their grandchild? We do not like grandparents to be the owners of the policy. They can certainly be the payer, but we require that the legal guardian or the parent of the child is the owner of the policy. All right, so let me go ahead and someone just asked about the mobile app, where you can get that. It's right in the App Store if you have an iPhone, or the Google Play Store if you have an Android. You just type in NLG app, and you should see the client app and the agent mobile app pop up there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just run the female one again. So minimum death benefit, max cash. We're going to do $150 a month, 1 through A65. We're solving for income at age 66. So again, just minimum death benefit, specifying our premium of $150. You can see the net death benefit is $201,814. And in order to change that, and that target premium was $1,461, in order to get the client a higher death benefit, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit none, so that this base amount will open up so that we can put $250,000 and $1. And we're going to leave the premium alone. So really the only thing we're touching differently is the face amount. We're putting it to $250,000 and $1. As you can see now, the target premium is showing $1,810 and $250,000 and $1 for the client. So the question is in the chat box is, does that work with all premium amounts? It really all depends on what the banding is. So it really depends if they're crossing that threshold of the band to determine if they're going to be able to get more coverage, and that's going to increase. Okay, so the next question is running an illustration for a 57-year-old male, $500 a month for income purposes. So let's go ahead and just change this to 57. We'll change this to male. I will say that at that age, it's not going to look as amazing as, the younger ages. and they're going to have to put significantly more premium in there, but we'll go ahead and just do minimum death benefit, max cash, and we'll do $500 a month, and we'll increase the age that we're paying the premiums until, because this is an older individual. And we'll just do from through 1-A70, and then from through A71-M in the distribution section. And we'll go ahead and hit our quick view. And it gives us about 163,000 of coverage, with 5,000 coming out in a fixed, participating fixed loan. All right, so we are at a stop. It looks like it's 2. Gina, I don't know if there's quite a few things coming in the chat box. I don't know if you want to keep looking at them, or what should we do at this point?
No, we'll go ahead and cut off at this point. I know somebody was asking about the phone number for customer service for NLG. What is the sales support number for NLG?
So it's 800-906-3310. And I can type that in the chat box too, Gina, just so they have that.
And it's also on that very first page that she was showing us on the, when you go in, and it had over to the right-hand side, little tips and things like that. The number is there. You can also find it on the NAA Leads homepage, and, several other places as well. And I know we had questions about the different bands. You can find that in the product guide, which is on the NLG carrier page on naaleads.com. So thank you guys all for tuning in today, and thank you, Lindsay, for your time. I know we had some questions about, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. It'll be available on the NAA YouTube channel, and like I said, we do have several other places on the university that you can go through this stuff and review it. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you again, Lindsay, and everybody have a great rest of your week, and we will see you all soon. Thanks.